Well, you have to have people in your camp who are willing to say, hey, you need to pull that back a bit.
Yeah.
You went too far.
Right.
We were with you, and then you went too far. So I agree with it. There needs to be some self-correcting mechanism, whether it be from the person themselves or their camp.
Yeah.
Somebody whispering in their ear, hey, that was too far. And that way we can maintain that decorum.
Right.
I think that goes
critical. Back to not being a bystander, because a lot of times we're thinking that person is going too far, but we don't say anything.
Welcome to another episode of Love, Growth, and Narratives. I'm Frederick.
And I'm Tiffany.
And in today's episode, we want to talk about bringing down the temperature in our discourse in this country. We know that people are passionate about their views and they really want to put things out there. But how do we do it in a way where not only we don't have violence, but we get to a point of understanding? Not necessarily agreement, but understanding. So that's what we're going to talk about in this episode. And unless you have something else, I think we're going to go ahead and get started.
Yes.
So it looks like, and, you know, we look at social media, we look at YouTube, all of this kind of stuff. And so I'm sure this isn't what's going on all over the country, but it is going on social media. And we are seeing where now there's violent consequences to situations going on. And it's been going on for some years. It's the stuff that's been happening recently is not the first. It's been getting ugly for well over a decade now. And what we're trying to figure out is, how do we bring the temperature down? This is not about everybody agreeing with each other. That's never going to happen. And it shouldn't happen, because you'll never learn if you just sitting around talking to people you agree with all the time. But there's got to be a way to have discourse where I can disagree with you and we can come away with that, understanding more about each other and not getting angry and wanting to fight each other.
Yeah. Well, I think it starts with wanting to understand someone's
absolutely
point of view or what they're going through. And, with that desire to want to learn, there's a possibility you may or may not shift your thinking a little bit. Right? Because I feel like the goal should be that you're both sharing something that is very important to you and you're trying to hear that other person. Doesn't mean, like you said, doesn't mean that they have to agree. But if you already know at the beginning, you're not going to be open to anything the person says, no matter what.
Right.
I don't see the point unless you're just trying to win some debate.
I agree.
You know, but if you're really trying to hear, especially when it's not something that you've lived, to not openly and sincerely listen to what the other person's saying, doesn't mean that you might not have a comeback about it, or, you know, conflict or need clarity. But that entire desire to want to understand is very important. Otherwise, you're just debating and arguing. And I'm not sure what you want to come out of that, unless you just want to be a winner, like who got the most claps or the oohs.
But it takes both sides.
Yes.
And so one of the places where we go wrong in our dialogue is the first voice that comes out sometimes comes out in a way that doesn't allow for understanding and good faith. And so if you want to have good faith dialogue, you have to start off with that. You can't start off with something that you know is going to anger people and then expect everyone else to calm down.
Right.
You know, not if you want to have a good faith dialogue. Now, where you and I, of course, disagree is I don't believe that words are violence. I absolutely do not. But what I do believe is when you want to have good faith dialogue, you do need to watch how you say it, because you want to say it in a way that brings that brings a reaction from the other group. And the reaction that I want from the other side is, okay, help me understand where you feel I'm wrong and what is your counterpoint, so that we can kind of go back and forth. Because, one of the other problems that we have, and you kind of brought this up, was debate. Mm-hmm. I think debate in and of itself is overrated. Mm-hmm. Because if it's just, I hit you with a zinger and you hit me with a zinger, and we just kind of go back and forth with zingers. Mm-hmm. And then at some point we decide that someone had the better zingers. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Right.
Okay, you may have won that, but what did you really win?
Right. Right. Exactly. And I just want to go back for a minute to where we disagree on. Mm-hmm. I do strongly believe that a person's words, their tone, can easily lead to violence. And whether I agree that it should or not, there are many examples where that has happened. You can say that person who was violent shouldn't have done that. And that's, I agree. And this could be in a family setting, a work setting, two people, road rage, whatever. I agree. However, we do need to keep in mind how we go at people, and especially if they're being badgered, right? Because we're all getting so much from all these different places.
Yes, we are.
More than probably ever in life.
Yes.
And so people are walking around angry.
Yes.
And so words that incite anger and violence can easily lead to that person cracking. I'm not saying that it's okay. It's not okay to do that. I'm not saying that at all. But we have to be mindful that does happen, whether we like it or not.
Yes.
It happens.
Yeah. And I wanted to jump on one of your points where you were talking about anger and grievance. And it seems to me, and I'd love to be wrong on this, but the extremes at least on the political side, it seems like both extremes are looking for grievance. They are addicted to grievance. They're not looking for solutions. Not on the fringes.
I agree.
I'm not talking about the opposite sides. I'm talking about the extremes of the opposite sides.
Right.
Because I believe that closer to the middle on the opposite sides, people are just trying to figure things out. I don't think that people are looking for a fight. But I do believe that in a lot of ways on the fringes, people are looking for a fight.
Yeah, they're looking for a fight.
And so
they want their team to win.
Right. And so even though I disagree with you still that words are violence, I do also see where people are trying you with their words. They are will poke and prod, and then see, what are you getting upset about?
Right.
What are you getting upset about? I just said words. I just said words.
Right. And we know we have an anger issue in this country.
Yes.
We don't want to discuss it. And we want to blame it on, certain groups. The group that mostly does it is, for some reason, we don't want to talk about that, Right. We want to talk about it in terms of color, but often not in terms of gender.
Right.
Right. And so a lot of times when this stuff does turn violent,
yes,
it's the same.
It's us guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it, but
it's my side of the couch.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we need to deal with that. That right there would take a lot of
absolutely
a lot of. I know that's a hard spot for people to discuss for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So while I'm not saying directly, like I said, a certain word and now I stabbed you. No, that's not what I mean. But what I'm saying is I feel like it leads along the line. People don't usually turn violent when they're talking nice to each other. How are you today? And then it's not. It's usually with anger and some words and some, whether they wrote them, whether they stated them somewhere.
Right.
It's typically not just like everything is dandy and then suddenly it turned that way.
Yes.
So I just feel that it's a part of the group of the situation,
right.
Like, what we say and what we think, and then a lot of that turns into action.
Right. And my major problem with the thought process of words being violence is that then you have to start drawing hard dividing lines between what is passionate speech and what is violent speech. And especially when we start looking in terms of public policy, because what I don't want, and I don't think you want this either, is a situation where the government starts being the arbiter of what kind of speech, what kind of speech is violent speech or hate speech or whatever, and what isn't, you know, because, you know, regardless to what side of the aisle you're on, I guarantee that someone on your side has been accused of hate speech for in a lot of ways just passionately expressing their point.
Yeah.
And yes, and there are
That
other
is 100%, especially in recent,
yes,
you know,
and of course there's other times when of course the speech is a little bit more obviously incendiary, but there are times when someone is walking that line, and or sometimes when they don't mean to walk that line, but they're really passionate about what they have to say,
right?
And so who is going to be the decider in terms of what's hate and what's just passionate speech?
I think it's important, like we talked about, if two people are about to have, you know, some dialogue, I think that they should agree on a couple of things and terms, right? Because that's really important. If you're trying to take someone's rights away, I'm not saying that's violent speech, but when you take someone's rights away, violence is not far behind. Like most of the time when people don't have the basic things that they need, violence is not far.
So are you saying taking someone's rights or advocating for the taking of someone's rights?
Okay, both. Yeah.
Okay. Because a lot of times these are not people in a position of power to take rights.
Right.
They may be advocating for which yes, I can understand why someone would be upset about that. But we got to make sure we're making that distinction.
Yes, yes. But if you are advocating for that and you have an audience that can do something about that, that can make what you're advocating happen, you know,
right,
then you're making the action happen. Like, you know, you're not just saying what you're saying because you want it to fall on deaf ears.
Right.
So it's different if you and I are sitting on the couch talking, or we're over dinner, some friends. But if you're on television, and you're on social media, and you know you have a platform, and you know how riled up your platform gets, no matter what you're talking about, you know that you're making an impact, and that someone out there, not to say you're fully responsible, but someone out there is going to take what you're saying too far. So what I wanted to say was, at the beginning of a talk, maybe having a certain amount of you know,
decorum. Or,
yes, exactly.
Right.
I think that would be really helpful. Like,
I agree.
If you just start going in, and the minute you start saying something like "you people," that's it, right? We're not about to still continue, right? So we do have to have some kind of agreement, and then if we've crossed that line, right, in our passion, we should be able to recognize, hey, I didn't, with the way I said that, I really should, you know, that's not what I meant, and you know, being able to do that throughout the argument without folding on your argument necessarily, or your point,
but on top of that, also you have to have people in your camp who are willing to say, hey, you need to pull that back a bit. You went too far.
Right.
We were with you, and then you went too far. So I agree with it. There needs to be some self-correcting mechanism, whether it be from the person themselves or their camp. Somebody whispering in their ear, hey, that was too far. You know, and that way we can maintain that decorum.
Right.
I think that goes
critical. Back to not being a bystander, because a lot of times we're thinking that person is going too far, but we don't say anything, right? And that's why so many people have been allowed to get away with so many different things, because you know, otherwise they wouldn't have been able to. There was like people all around them who allowed for that. You know, I mean, you can't 100% stop the person, but having a conversation with them, like, hey, cut it. Right? Like, people, when Kanye was saying all the things he was saying, people were like, well, where is his people saying, hey, dude, cut it, like, watch it, whatever. And they were saying like he wouldn't listen and blah, 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 blah. But we did expect someone to step in and say something.
And that's a powerful point, because I can point to certain figures on both sides who, in going too far, even their own sides left them.
Yes.
It was kind of, whoa.
Yeah.
All right. And I can think of some specific examples on both sides.
Right.
One of the things that we have a problem with and this is absolutely on both sides, are these collective illusions. Just a quick note, the term collective illusions comes from Todd Rose's book by the same name. And I should have mentioned that earlier, but I still want to give proper credit. Where we feel like, okay, if you're on my side of the argument, we all feel this way. I think that everybody on my side thinks this way.
Right.
And so when this person speaks, I'm nervous about saying or correcting that person because I don't want to be alone.
Right.
I don't want to feel like I'm the only one that feels that way. And so I'll just wait. So if it's like a Facebook post, I'll wait to see what the other comments are. And let's see, if some of them are kind of disagreeing, then I'll feel comfortable enough to say something. And we need to have a little bit more courage than that. So it's not just about pushing back on the other side.
Right.
You also have to be willing to push back on your own side.
Yes.
But with that collective illusion, the other way that it manifests itself is that you feel like everyone on the other side thinks the same. Right. Which is also untrue. And you also think that everyone on the other side thinks the way the people on the fringes are articulating themselves. Right. Which is absolutely untrue. Right. And because of what you talk about in terms of bystanders, people not having the courage to stand up to their own side and say, hey, I was with you there, but you took it too far. Right. Let's come on back. Let's bring it back. And if both sides of this situation right now had that level of self-correction, we could pull ourselves back.
Right. Yeah, that self-correction is important, and checking on your own camp, because what I'm seeing a lot of is when one person is passionate about what they're saying and telling what they claim is their truth, it's praised. And then when another one does it, oh no, what are you talking about? You shouldn't be saying that. Right. And so do you really believe in the free speech or not? Right. And I understand it comes with consequences. Everyone keeps saying that. But does it come with consequences for only certain people? Or does it come with consequences for everybody? That's something we need to all acknowledge.
Well, the whole thing is freedom of speech has to do with your ability to say what you want to say about your government. About your government. Specifically about your government. It doesn't mean that I get a chance to call you all kind of names. Right. Right. Because then you'll leave me and you might slap me on the way out. But I don't know. but I don't have the freedom to just say whatever the heck I want to say. I don't even want that freedom. But but I don't have that freedom. But in terms of the consequences, we want the consequences to be superior speech that then strikes down what you say. And I've seen situations like that on both sides where you've had someone who's gone off the rails, and the other side, instead of responding with anger and how dare you say that, it's okay, I'm just going to pick apart everything you said. And then before you know it, that person starts to kind of fade off in the background, because even their own side is like, yeah, we're not with that. You know, so that's why, to me, the answer to bad speech is better speech. And sometimes I got to tell you, sometimes we get angry over other people's speech because we don't have a better argument. So we're just mad that you made the point. We're just angry that you even brought it up, and we don't have a better counter. And so sometimes we got to look at ourselves. Why am I angry about what that person said? Yeah. Is it because I haven't done my own research? Or is it because the person that represents me on my side doesn't like it?
Right. Or is it because something that you've said many times, you said, like, you don't have an opinion on everything.
No, absolutely
right?
Don't.
And why does everyone have to have an opinion on everything, especially things that have nothing to do with it?
I know.
But some people feel like, I got an opinion on everything and I need to talk about it. Yeah. It has nothing to do with me, does not impact me. My opinion doesn't shift anything. I just need you to know.
Yeah. And I've gotten into it been times, like at the gym, where people will bring up something. Yeah, okay. And what do you think? And I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I haven't done any research.
Right.
It doesn't affect me.
So it's okay to say that too. That's what people need to understand.
I don't have an opinion one way or the other. I have no dog in this fight. And yeah, you're right, because you have people that are getting passionate about something they honestly know nothing about and doesn't affect them at all.
At all.
You didn't do any research.
Yeah.
It's just like I said, the person on your side said you're supposed to feel this way. You're allowing someone else to tell you what to think and how to feel. And that is a whole big problem with us as adults. And we end up putting this into our kids, teaching them what to think instead of how to think. And so we get another generation of people who can't think for themselves, who aren't willing to stand apart from their crowd when they disagree.
Yeah.
We got to have more courage than that. And I honestly feel that if we all start showing a little bit more courage, as well as a little bit of restraint, like when something doesn't really matter that much to us, or we haven't researched it at all, I think the temperature could come down pretty quickly.
Yeah. I totally agree with that. I think that it takes a lot of internal work. And I think when someone says something that initially shocks you or sounds shocking, that we really need to stop for a minute and pick apart what they said within ourselves first. And like, is there part of that I'm not even going to address? I'm not even bother addressing that.
Right.
There's another part where it's like, we have some clarity here. And is there another part of that? Well, you're right on this part, but, or and, right? And I think that's important to do that work.
Yes. Because honestly, when you're having dialogue, when you're having good faith discourse, part of your goal is to understand the other side, not necessarily to agree with them, but to understand, because they may bring a nuance that you didn't think of, that may actually sometimes reinforce your point.
Right.
But if you're so busy thinking of what's my comeback gonna be, and I'm just waiting for this person to give me a gap in there yelling and screaming so that I can come back, I got something that's really gonna get them.
Right.
That's not discourse. That's not civil discourse.
Right. And I think also with understanding, because I think some minds would go to, I'm not trying to understand someone who's violating my rights or whatever. And I agree 100% with that. But, you may be trying to, understanding might just be, this person, I understand why they think this way because they don't have the whole picture.
Right.
Right. And so it's a little bit, you could still be really upset with them and what they're saying, but it should release some of the tension where like this person doesn't really know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So cool. I'm gonna keep it pushing.
Yeah. And there's too often when I've had conversations where you can see, this is, it's not worth it. They're making these statements, but I can tell they really don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
And so me getting angry is not doing anything.
Right. I've had that happen a lot right before school started, where a lot, for some reason on, I can't even think of the name of that new platform that comes at Threads, I think it is.
Threads, yeah.
So there were like a lot of parents, or maybe not even parents, just people bashing teachers and asking for supplies or whatever. And you go back and forth a little bit with them, and then you realize they have never been in a classroom. They have no idea about how school works. They don't even understand that schools are different from city to city to county to county to neighborhood to neighborhood.
Right.
Right. And we're not all dealing with the same thing. We're not all starting at the same point. They have no idea what they're talking about. And it's like, you know what? I'm not even you obviously have never, and what's the point? I mean, if they're willing to be educated on it, fine. But the minute they keep talking as if they know, but they don't, you can tell it's like, okay, we're kind of done here. Yeah.
No use in getting angry. It's just kind of like, who cares?
Right. So that's a way to ease the tension. Like you can't have, we have to realize we cannot have a good faith conversation with everybody. You cannot.
No, but I also ask when you're going into these dialogues, Do you honestly understand what this person is saying? Do you understand why they're saying it? You know, what about their background or their level of education or the groups that they run around in makes them have this type of thought process. And sometimes when you do that, it's like, okay, I understand why someone would feel that way. I just think you're wrong.
Yeah.
But I understand why someone would feel that way. And that also starts to bring the temperature down, because you don't get as angry when you can see why someone would feel that way, even though you think it's dead wrong.
Yeah.
But you can see why.
Right. Absolutely.
You know, but we have to pull back. You know, and you know, for the viewers, we haven't picked a side.
Right.
You know, we haven't picked a side. What we're saying is that on all sides, we need to start looking towards having civil discourse.
Yeah.
Because I love talking to people that I disagree with when I can have a good faith conversation, because I learned something.
Yeah.
Even if I still walk away disagreeing with them, I can learn a nuance, or I can learn something that I didn't even think of. And to be honest with you, I've had times where people have, on some points, have changed my mind.
Right.
You know, but you can't grow if you stay in your bubble and don't have these conversations.
Right.
Another thing that I wanted to bring up is the role of social media, you know, because, you know, we have these algorithms, and based on what you search for, you're going to get more of it. You're going to constantly get more.
Yeah.
And I have found where I'm starting to get these things and I don't want to get them anymore. You know, it's like I'm done with that conversation, and you're trying to constantly search for other things. So hopefully it'll figure it out and start shifting you different things. But people need to ask themselves, you know, is part of this just what I'm being fed? Is what's making me so angry and so upset? Is that part of it? We have to ask ourselves that.
Right.
Because like for me, there have been times when, you know, because I'm a big YouTube watcher, I don't really do a lot of the other stuff that much, but I do watch a lot of YouTube. And there have been times when I've watched so many videos of certain types of subject matter, and I notice the next day I'm a little irritable, you know, and it's just like, okay, I need to take a break from it. I need to change what I'm searching for and stuff like that. But in these circumstances, this is one of the things that kind of causes us to straw man the other side and say, oh, well, everybody on that side feels this way. And if you're on that side, then you're this and there. And you know, you got to understand that that's not true, but you also got to understand that what's being fed to you and what's going into your psyche. And I know a lot of people don't want to admit that constantly getting these feeds goes into your psyche, but for the most part, it is. And so sometimes stepping away can actually help bring down the temperature.
I agree. Going back to, for a minute, you know, I know for me, sometimes I want to be a bystander because it's easier.
Yes.
Like I'm exhausted of always fighting.
Yes.
And it's more exhausting if you're around people who don't understand you, don't seek to understand you, don't seek to understand anything about you. That's difficult. That's exhausting and tiring. So I think it's okay to take breaks. We don't want people to be bystanders, like full on, like you're a bystander. You never say anything. You never step into anything. You never take the time to, you know, I guess dismantle a stereotype or anything. And then also realizing that sometimes you just need rest. Like this can't be my fight, even though it's really all of our fight, human fight. But sometimes it's just.
But it doesn't have to be your fight 24/7.
No, it doesn't.
Really doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't. And that is just, you just have to. And when you make it your fight 24/7, it's going to impact you one way or another. And
it's going to affect your sleep. It's going to affect your health.
Yeah, your life,
Absolutely.
your relationships, everything.
Yes.
So even when we're praising people that we think are, well, you're doing this work, they're on in some other space, they're hurting themselves or someone else.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I mean, I've had that within myself, with some of these circumstances that have come up, and I'm looking at, because I do watch and read both sides, and sometimes I just feel like both sides are wrong, and it just frustrates me, because it's not that no one has a good point, but you're not expressing it in a way to get resolution.
Right.
You're expressing it in a way to anger someone. You're intentionally trying to anger someone. You're intentionally trying to rally your base, but you're not trying to actually get something. And so that's another thing that I ask people: what is it that you want to get out of it? Is it just that you want to put down the other side?
Yeah.
Or are you really trying to get a solution that helps people or whatever? And for some people, they just don't know. Yeah. They're so used to being angry about everything,
right,
that they can't get out of that.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's one of the things that we really have to think about is what is the goal of all of this? When you're yelling and screaming on Facebook or Instagram, what is the ultimate goal? Is it to put down the other side? Is it to rally your side? Or is it to actually solve a problem? Because if you're trying to solve a problem, then putting down the other side and rallying your side doesn't really do it. It doesn't lead to it.
Right, it doesn't lead to it.
So you got to figure out what's the purpose.
Yep. And act accordingly.
Yeah.
Discuss accordingly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, another thing is, and you and I have talked about this since we've been together, is the cost of silence. And not just silence about opinions that you disagree with, but silence when it comes down to people on your side that have gone too far, who've gone off the rails, or just assume that you're going to be with them. And sometimes, we talk about the bystander effect. We need to have those self-correcting mechanisms within our own communities, regardless of whatever your stance is on these things. You need to have people around you that are willing to tell you need to pull back.
Yeah.
You've gone too far. It's time to bring it in.
Right. And speak up, not just when something major, tragic, we want to avoid those things in the first place. So, just stepping in sooner than that. We're not, because I know that there's people, I've seen it in my timeline where there's people like you never say anything about anything.
Right.
But then all of a sudden you jump in and you say something that's a little, without tact, and where were you all along? These things didn't pop out of nowhere.
Right.
Where were you all along?
Yes.
What has been your stance all along? And you're only saying it when something really tragic happens.
Yeah.
And we want to avoid the tragedies.
Yeah. And you think of you think of some of these figures on the other side of the aisle that piss you off so much. Just wonder if someone on their side who's a little bit more rational said, "Hey, bring it in, relax.
Yeah,
you're doing too much." And if you do it to your side, and then you have someone doing it to their side, that will immediately bring the temperature down.
Yeah,
because one of the things that I've seen is, when I have when I've posted sometimes with friends of mine on Facebook or whatever where I disagree, I'll notice that then you get a bunch of people who are actually agreeing with me. But until someone steps up and says you went a little too far, it's quiet. It's really quiet.
It's like that in so many spaces.
Yes, because people are like, ooh, yeah, I disagree with him, but am I the only one that disagrees?
Right.
I'm afraid that if I voice my disagreement that I'm going to lose my camp. I'm going to lose my tribe. And you've got to have more courage than that. You just do. You know, it's critical.
Yeah.
And so we have to look at this from both sides. It's easy for us to look at the other side and say, you have to be nice. But we also, on our side, need to be able to do the same thing. We have to have a level of decorum. I absolutely agree with you that when we have these good faith discussions, agreeing to terms, agreeing that how we're going to conduct this dialogue is important. Sometimes agreeing on definitions of words, because sometimes I've seen where people get in arguments over terms, and then when it comes down to it, they have different definitions of the same term.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, so they're like fighting past each other.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, and so a lot of it is taking a deep breath. I think as a country, we need to take a deep breath.
We do. And I think when we say things, you know, things get so, the waters get so muddy. Like when you said freedom of speech to say what you want about the government, right? It's not supposed to be, I'm just go out there and say anything and everything I want to say about anybody and everybody. Woohoo.
Right.
That's not what that meant.
Right.
Right. And but it's been distorted.
Yes.
Right. Like so many sayings that we have, we only heard part of the saying. We didn't hear the other second part of it. And that's important to, I guess, don't edit so much, you know, to the point you've edited out the truth.
Exactly.
You know?
I mean, like that, you know, people say, well, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. That's not true. That's not true. You know, people have to ask the question, that is not true. You know, if you go back into, what was that, the early 1900s when that was actually a case, you know, it was about intent. If you yell fire in a crowded theater because you have the express intent to start a riot, okay, well then that's a problem. But if you just out of nowhere yell fire, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. And so that's another thing where we get used to these little things and we don't really research them.
But why would a person yell fire for no reason?
I don't know. I don't know.
Without that intent.
I don't know. But I
just want to say it, unless you're like 5, you know.
Yeah, but the whole thing is in court, these things are made intentionally hard to prove, because you have to be able to prove in court that this person was in the mind of actually doing that. And proving intent is an extremely difficult thing to do. Yeah. You know, so yeah, I tell you, I just want us to be better. I'm not telling people that you're necessarily wrong for your opinion, but what is it that you actually want? Do you actually want society to get better, or do you just want to put down the other side? Yeah. Because if you just want to put down the other side, I don't know what I can say about you. I just, you know, I just think that you're going about it all wrong. It seems that you want something to change or something to improve or whatever the case may be. But we need to pull back from that. And one of the last things I wanted to say is, you know, be mindful of what happens when your side gets in a position of power to regulate or to try to regulate speech. And even if you agree with what they're doing, understand you're setting a precedent that the next group in power may not be on your side. And then they may go the other way. And then you've got this whole tit for tat thing and nobody wins. And so sometimes you have to pull your side back, knowing that you're doing it just to keep everything even, because it'll just keep going back and forth. And we're seeing that right now. Yeah. You know, so, yeah, I mean, that was the main thing that I really wanted us to discuss, is just bringing down the temperature, because I don't hate people that I disagree with. I don't. And I don't want anything bad to happen to people that I disagree with. And I want to be able to have a discussion where we have a level of empathy for each other, and we have a level of respect for each other. And even if that never turns into actual agreement, but where we can kind of learn from each other and everything, I think there's huge value in that. But we've got to take a deep breath on all sides, and we have to start realizing we got to share this country and
This world.
Yeah, we have to share this world. And I want to be able to go to different parts of the country and talk to different parts of people without having to worry about things getting violent. I want to be able to have these conversations. So, anything else from you, love?
Not really. I am exhausted. Like, it's really weighing heavy on me. It's exhausting. I'm tired of seeing it. You know, just some of the things that are being said are just so outrageous. And I would like some resolution. You know, so
yeah. So let's all just collectively take a deep breath, and sometimes take a few days off from all the controversy. But I appreciate everyone sticking with us. And for this episode of Love, Growth, and Narratives, I'm Frederick.
And I'm Tiffany.
Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Bye.